we've lost We're live? Very good. Thank you, Stephen. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is a public hearing pursuant to Article 18A of the New York State General Municipal Law by the City of Glens Falls Industrial Development Agency. It is May 15th, 2025, and it's just a little after 8 a.m. We are here with Patton Property Management LLC, a limited liability company established pursuant to the laws of the state of New York, with an address at 20 Ridgewood Court, Queensbury, New York. The company has requested the Glens Falls IDA to provide financial assistance in the form of a partial real property tax abatement, mortgage recording tax exemption, and a sales tax abatement in regards to the project that they proposed at 45-56 South Street in the city of Glens Falls. Just for reference, this is tax map parcel number 309.28-2-6, and that is the site of the property. And we're joined here today. All of the board members of the Glens Falls IDA are here with us today, and excuse me?
Tim is not here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tim is not here. We have Tim Larson, one missing board member, otherwise, but we do have a full quorum for our meeting, which will follow, and we are all here today. And we're also joined by Patton Property Management CEO Chris Patton and his attorney Tim Schuler. And I'm going to turn this over to them and ask them to make a presentation for the record of the proposed project. And just for the record, we have your full application.
Okay.
We have your development budget, and we have gone carefully through those numbers, and everyone here has a copy of that. But if you could provide us with a good summary of the project and what you're proposing, that would be helpful. And as you know, we're online, and there may be questions from the public as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Judy. Yeah, it's so 4656 South Street, complete renovation, one of the cornerstones of the South Street preservation project, part of you guys' initiative. We took the building on with hopes to build 20 brand new apartments, 16 one bedrooms and 4 2 bedrooms. There were some confined wall spaces and things that really hit a few problems, I guess. So the other portion of the project is 5 commercial spaces and then one restaurant. So we've ran into a few issues along the way that really led us to look for some additional funding, really. And really to preserve the building into what is going to be a long, lasting building. We've decided, there's obviously choices every day that I make that are, it's either longevity or quality or all those types of choices. So we've had to rip off several sections of the entire roof system. We've had to rebuild the entire floor system in several areas and continue to do so today. We're a little bit behind schedule on things because of the shortfalls that we came up against. We found that there's rather than just a subfloor and some 2x12s, it's a complete concrete embedded floor system. So certain things that come along the way that really added quite a bit of scope to the project. One specific thing is getting power to the building. It's been about 4 months just to figure out how we're going to hit the building with power. The network in the street doesn't have the required amperage to provide the power to the restaurant, 5 commercial spaces, as well as the 20 units. So that's been a challenge. We're working with National Grid. We're working with the city, for utilities. All new water and sewer connections are being provided. Where we thought along the way that we may be able to utilize some of the existing water connections. They're not adequate, and some of the things are just outdated. So, been working closely with the city water department, sewer, and we're going to provide brand new sewer connections, new water connections, and we're actually tying in, which I know everybody's in favor of, is tying the stormwater drains into the stormwater system out on South Street. So that's going to benefit, the water sewer district as well, getting that separated which it currently is not. Um, so yeah, that's the project. It's just as easy as that. Like I said, we are a little bit behind schedule. I've made some choices along the way to just really make it so it's going to last forever. We have a brand new TPO roof over top of the existing structure, but of the structure that was remaining or that was there, I think probably 70% had to be either completely restored or actually ripped off and removed. So you've seen some of the work as we've been progressing with the windows completely wide open and the roof system completely gone. And again, that was back to what I was saying. The choices that I'm making are about really preservation and long term. Yeah, that's it.
Chris, I have one question. Are you running into any problems with like supply chain issues, or do you need anything that's become an issue at all with the recent?
Yeah, just pricing, right? Pricing is through the roof.
Right.
As far as getting materials, it's not been all that challenging yet. We haven't got into anything other than framing and roofing, windows, and some paint. So, we haven't really branched out and tried to acquire a ton of material yet.
And Tim, anything you want to add?
No, I think Chris knows this project much better than I do. But the only thing I would add is that the building's been vacant for a couple decades or so. So it's a real service to the community to have it eventually as a positive space.
Yeah.
And it supports our agenda on what's going on in South Street through the downtown revitalization project because of your close proximity to that as well, I think.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning too that this is not a simple rehabilitation, right? This was not an apartment building ever, right? It's a conversion from a factory, I think it was at one point, but it's been empty probably as long as any building on South Street. And it probably vied for the worst shape of any building on South Street.
Any building in the city.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
you get the award.
Yeah,
Well, it's a hidden gem.
yeah, yeah, among many.
It goes right up there with the incubator building.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well-
36 around, right? And it's right.
Well, 36 was in better physical shape. It was in worse rehab, in bad rehab shape, but in good.
Well, and
This was a disaster
Yeah, I think
physically.
we had several engineers, as you guys are already aware of, that said the building was needed to be raised.
Yeah.
Even my good friend, he gave drawings and listen, I'm not gonna put my stamp on it. There's no way. So,
Wow.
It is amazing. I was in that building 30 years ago, and the roof was leaking then.
I'm excited
Literally.
to see. Yeah, so the PG working with PJ in the building department, has allowed us to really utilize some of the existing timbers. So we had custom hand sawn beams to match some of the existing beams that were there. So it's pretty cool. All of the structural integrity of the building is back to the way it was, when it was originally built. And I have no idea how the men in 1900 or whatever year, I don't know what year it was built, but I have no idea how they did it. It took us, I had to purchase additional equipment, an electric winch with a remote control that we had to put up on the attic, up in the attic system, and then run a cable all the way down to the first floor to pick up 700-pound, 16-foot long, 8x12 beams to then set them on top of the columns that come all the way from the basement. And it started really down into the basement, where because of that 30 years worth of roof leak, all the water crumbled all the mortar around the hand laid foundation walls, bluestone. So it starts down there, refilling and repacking all the mortar around those joints to make that strong enough to re-support the weight from all the way up to the roof. So yeah, to say we're a little behind and to say a couple things were, a bit more than, and again, I'm not just repairing the columns and just pushing stuff back up. We're repairing all the columns from top to bottom, replacing all the beams, and then cutting all of the floor system, and sometimes it's 40 feet by 30 feet, and it's entire floor system that's gone, and then rebuilding and stitching that into the new existing beams that are there. So it's, yeah, you'll be impressed when you come through there.
We're already impressed.
Yeah, I know, I'm talking like that was all easy.
Well, and to your
It's in the
credit,
past.
you know, to your credit, we talked about this before you started when you were looking at buying the building, and you said, "Well, I think I can make it work." And I said, "Well," and I mentioned even that you might be before the board, and you need to come and this work started, and I go, "I don't know how it's just going to happen. It's going to be so many." And every time I turn around, there's another problem. So I mean, I give you a lot of credit for it wasn't until everything hit the fan. There's no way you're going to make this building work without some help. And this is again these kinds of projects where it's great that you're restoring. And by the way, I've had tons of people tell me how nice that was. It's sort of serendipitous that we're having this ribbon cutting tomorrow because typically at this stage of this building you wouldn't have the facade done at all, and they go, "Oh, too bad," what's that? And you have to explain. Well, now it's exactly what's happening with that building and the blue and the white. It looks great. I mean, I've had about a dozen people last week when the state controller was there comment to me.
Yeah, and in terms of your schedule, the fact that you've been delayed is we're very comfortable with, because one of the things you've asked for is a sales tax exemption
Yeah.
on the materials you're buying. And so if you've held off on purchasing some of the materials that you've already purchased, we're not going to be able to assist you with.
Sure.
But on anything that you've held off on purchasing, we will be able to assist going forward. We have an estimate of what we think that will be. But that will be determined at the end, once you finalize all your purchases.
Yeah.
For materials.
Not by choice, but yeah, it just so happened to work out that way.
Yeah.
And also I've been following, the initiative there downtown, and I really did push to get the exterior looking the way it does. I apologize, it's not done around the corner.
Very kind. Yeah.
Labor
Looks
stuff,
great.
but yeah.
So,
Look good.
yeah, so, we, talked, quite a bit, or, Chris talked quite a bit about, the design, and I didn't bring it here today, but we do have in our records all the design documents from the architect, and it does report, the square footage of the commercial spaces and, the residential spaces. And so if anyone wants that, we do have all those documents. Okay.
And tell
So-
us again about the parking.
Yeah, so the parking was coupled with the project, everybody knows it as the existing Rite Aids, which is more.
No longer existing.
Former existing Rite
That project began 2 days ago, actually, with 54 piers to dig and put into the ground that support a 100,000 pound steel package that will create a parking garage. And so 56 spaces go on the first floor where that building was, which is crazy that we were able to fit that much. Ethan Hall was great with the design. So we'll be doing 24 units up on top of that space, but 56 parking spaces. Everybody knows parking is a nightmare. So we want to make sure that we provide at least one parking space, regardless of the fact that we don't need them there in CCD, but we wanted to have one parking space per unit in both those buildings. We also have an overflow. Great, not yet. We have an overflow, but it will be for the commercial spaces of 12 spaces, giving each one of the apartments that we're building one permanent space. So we'll have, nice gates and stuff, and we'll try to, limit access to just our tenants and keep it, which is, we don't want to add to the parking problem.
Okay, that's great.
So in addition to the sales tax exemption and the mortgage tax exemption, Chris has also asked for a payment into a tax agreement. And he asked for a 10-year, 100% exemption on the improvements for a period of 5 years, the first 5 years, and a 50% exemption on the accessible improvements for a period of 5 years. And the base assessed value for the term of the pilot agreement is proposed to remain at $577,500. The norm for us is to do a 7-year tax pilot. And so Jeff and Kara and I looked very closely at what the numbers would be for a 7-year pilot. And we were concerned basically that the amount of resource that was going to be achieved during that period of time was not sufficient to cover all expenses related to the project. So, we did, put forward for your consideration a 10-year instead of a 7-year. And so we were, concerned mostly with, we looked at, all annual expenses, we looked at net operating income, and, we looked at total debt service on the project. And, we were concerned with how low the cash flow was, up until, year 7. And so we thought going to year 10 did make sense in accordance with the request that was made.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So let me turn this over to the rest of the board for any questions. We don't have anyone here from the public. We may have people online. I don't know that we can receive questions online, but questions from here. And then what we'll do is we'll keep this open for a few minutes and then go to our regular board meeting and then take this up. We'll give some time for the public to come. Any questions from the board? Well, Mary already asked questions.
I know it.
Got those in there.
Any,
Not necessarily questions, just glad to see this building get back to a usable space. I think it amazes us all that it wasn't torn down. We certainly, one of the biggest things mentioned by the state comptroller as well was they love the blue and the white. And that was one of the bigger comments on people, so great choice. Somebody asked if I had anything to do with it, and I started laughing. I said, "You don't want me picking the color." So it was you know what a great investment to not have this building knocked down. I'm absolutely amazed. Thank you for your investment in the community. I have a couple small requests. We have our groundbreaking tomorrow, and I think you're going out of town though, so I'm bummed that you can't be there. Please send some other folks and friends and family. I'd love to see them there. You are an example of how the DRI is adding and multiplying because of the what's going on there. Has certainly made you and other people look harder at that corridor that we've all been looking at and ignoring, not on purpose, but just unable to address it. And here it is. It's the multiplier effect, as the comptroller called it, and we appreciate it. Also like to ask you, remind you that on June 7th, the farmers market will be starting in their new location there on Saturday mornings. So I know that you need as much space as you need to do your construction. But the primary parking for that will be that Elm Street lot. So anything you can do on Friday afternoons, we've even offered if you need some help from DPW on Friday afternoon to come and help, maybe even just move those on that corner on Elm and South, to move it all in just for the weekend and then move it back out, so that you can get your work done. We'd appreciate it. I just want people to be as comfortable as they can walking through that. It's almost like an alley by accident, right? That Elm Street to get over to the farmer's market. And I just appreciate all you've done so far. Wanted to make sure that you were aware that June 7th is now a hard date, and they're coming, and we know you care about them. You want them there as much as we do for your future tenants. So that's great. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
I have one more question about the parking. It's gonna be where the Rite Aid building was.
Correct.
Do you anticipate you're gonna have both those projects completed the exact same time? Because you gotta have the parking for.
Correct, yeah, so,
Right.
and I've really pushed, and, PJ, the building department has decided not to go with the full review that could take, 6 to 8 weeks longer, once we submitted all the final drawings. It's not just a generic building, it takes a full engineer with, structural steel and load calculations, so it took a little longer to get the pre-construction stuff done. As I mentioned, we started just 2 days ago in digging the first set of piers. Once that, getting on the ground is the toughest part, they say in construction. So I'd say once that's up, the new construction should accelerate beyond the renovation work. Because the renovation work, there's so many unforeseen conditions with new construction, assuming the plans are correct and we have everything ordered the way we're supposed to, and that's, part of my job. I would say that they're going to go simultaneously, you'll see that come up quick.
One clarification, if you're talking about the building we're talking about here, that building is in the CCD. It doesn't require parking. So he might say he needs parking, but as far as if the idea is this building going to be done in time from a regulatory standpoint, do you have the parking? It's not needed. I mean, I'm thinking you're going to think it's needed, but
Nobody wants
Well,
it done.
the
I want
public
it at the
would.
same time.
right.
I want to be able to lease a space to a tenant and say, if there's your designated parking spot.
Okay.
The new entrance to the parking or to the apartments is as close to the golden monkey or that
Yep.
parking lot as possible. And that's by design. So that it's a
Right.
short walk.
That really was one of the things that I thought was creative when you decided to buy both buildings and made the parking, because we had a lot of people over the years that came to them, and I would say to them, "Oh, don't worry, that's in the CCD. You don't need parking." And the developer would go, "I need
Parking
I
anywhere,
you said
sure.
parking or not. I can't put apartments in a building and then have nowhere for them to park." We were talking about the Clinton Street garage at one point. We were talking about reserving, and it was, I don't know where you came up with the idea, but it's a great idea.
Right.
I guess you came up with the idea, but it's perfect. But that was a great solution to the
Yeah.
problem for both of us, really.
Well, I was just concerned that if there was a big delay between the two, that
Yes.
the new tenants and
They were, we're in the park.
where they park, and that's gonna be a problem for anybody.
Yeah,
Going
the other thing
downtown.
we've considered there, because you'll see as they're designed, first of all, the design of that building is gonna be beautiful, but, it has a nice little fence around the outside. It's got, trees and bushes, just like Washington Street, after we got it done, really, we made sure that everybody has parking in the center there. And I really do, after being a landlord for 20 years now, I really consider snow removal when we're gonna do it. Because it's a nightmare if you don't. So on the point building, we actually have a heated snow melt system all the way around the perimeter of the property. So the snow will fall on the flat roof above. So we'll take that and the parking will be underneath it. Every parking space that's outside the perimeter of the building is gonna have a snow melt system with drains in it. So we don't have any, snow removal issues or anything for any tenants as well.
Right, right. That's impressive.
And there is leasing available for parking spaces at 333 Glen in their parking lot now, hundreds. So anybody can go and lease a space that wants to live downtown.
I was, one of the ones that created that first too with the 276 Glen Street project. Kevin, that's been great. So, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Staff? Okay, I think what we're gonna do is, it is not quite 30 minutes that we've been up and operating for this hearing. I'm gonna keep it open for a little bit in case someone does come in, and I'm gonna turn over to start the Glens IDA board meeting. Okay, thanks. If you guys can stay a little bit just in case, we'll at least keep it open for about 15 minutes. All right? All right, thank you. All right, so I call to order the Glens Falls Industrial Development Agency Board meeting for May 15th. We do have a quorum. We have one board member, Tim Larson, is absent today, but otherwise, the rest of us are all here. And we're also joined with all staff, except Mark Toomey. Mark Toomey, our CFO, is not here today. Who's going to do financial reports?
I have Mark's notes. Do you have Mark's notes for the IDA?
No.
So I'm going to give Jeff Mark's notes for the IDA. And I'll do it for the LDC.
Very good. You could do it
For
for
both, we would adopt you.
We could, we can hear from you.
Do you want me to do them?
Okay.
Thanks.
Let me start with a chair report just quickly. We have, as you know, we've had quite a bit going on, not just related to this project, but we've had a few other folks from the community come in and talk to Jeff and staff and/or I about some other projects. And I don't think that we're ready to come forward with anything yet today on anything new. Jeff is going to have some updates on both South Street project, Crew Coffee, and an asset transfer for Smart Farm. But in addition to that, we have been getting more requests for projects that are either 100% or more heavily residential housing over commercial. And there are a number of our agencies IDAs, including Warren Washington IDA, and we've also been looking at Herkimer County IDA that have adopted policies that allow for pilot agreements and property sales tax and mortgage tax exemptions to go for these types of projects that are more heavily residential. And they see them as helping to bring about revitalization to their communities and needed, and also providing housing for jobs and in certain communities where jobs are not getting filled because people don't have housing there, and so it is helping to fill jobs as well. And so what I would like to do is ask our governance committee, which is chaired by Mary Gooden, if they could take this issue up, take a look at the Warren Washington IDA in particular. I think also this Herkimer County IDA would be worth looking at, and any others that you may want to look at, and see if this is something that should come forward to the board for consideration.
Can I insert here? I would like to ask our guest, as a developer of residential property primarily prior to this, we are a small community with a limited number of developers. Our guest being a primary one, but Mr. Hoffman, I mean, we know who our players generally are.
Yeah.
They have invested a lot of their own personal funds in developing residential properties in and around our downtown area without assistance because we did not provide it. I'm wondering if 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 we changed to allow this now after you have already done so much development, would you take that as a slap in the face? Would you take that as a discouraging act?
I don't think anybody that really truly believes in the city would ever look at that.
Okay, I just want to make sure there's not, where were you when I needed you kind of attitude, because certainly you people have done us proper with what the work you've done, and I don't want to discourage that from our people.
It's the greater good of the city. It helps, benefits you, it helps everybody, for many, many decades to come. I mean, really, nobody wants to see. I think when I grew up, like when I was 8 or 9 years old, my aunt said that this was like one of the best cities. You can come and get a shirt and shoes and shopping, and so I just kind of had that in the back of my mind always, and like, what happens, if I keep it and preserve it, bring it back to the way it was. So it's
Okay, all right. I'm glad to hear it because,
And in this project that you're proposing here today, you do have 20 apartments, in addition to you have multiple commercial spaces on the first floor.
Yep.
But given your location, I think using that first floor as commercial space makes most sense from a business perspective anyways. But the fact that you're adding 20 more apartments in downtown that are the price that you're charging, I don't want to call it affordable, but it's
make it
you're a little bit below market, I think.
Yeah, I don't try to get rich on every single building. It's a long-term game. I'm fortunate enough that I did get started at a young age, and so it's really about longevity. Each month, every mortgage is paid. It's a little bit more equity each month.
Not to interrupt you, we talked about, we have several programs that we work with, Pat and I, with the HCR, and particularly Pat with lower income people, workforce housing. Many of the programs are designed to target people at certain income levels. The classic one is 80% of average median income of the area. Chris's, we'll call it market rate, the rent that he's choosing is at about 85% of average.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not, it's not squeezing people for everything you can get. It's trying to keep it affordable, but again, it's within the confines. It's not looking for, we're trying to provide a little bit of help here, but it's not going and saying, I can't do this without HCR grants, which are time consuming and they're cost of taxpayers.
He's slightly below market.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's a
Hey,
good,
I didn't mean to take us off the topic.
Oh,
I just
no.
merely wanted to make sure that a move in the direction of adding residential to the
Right.
exemptions wasn't going to be perceived as having harmed our that are developers.
Yeah,
Right.
well, and I think you have to look too at, there's the dynamics you've had in, in a city like ours where almost everything's going to be a brownfield site. And either you're going to try and restore things, which as everybody knows is a big thing now, right? Because everybody wants to maintain all these buildings and you go, it's expensive, right? As we're discovering here. I think it's great that you do. But the alternative then is typically you're going to have to tear something down, right? So these added costs, nobody's building on a greenfield site. Very, very, very few people are going to be able to build on some field somewhere.
Yeah.
And because of that,
I think one of the things we could ask Mary to do as part of the committee is to maybe bring some of those developers in that we've done business with in the past and even have current agreements with and bring them into the discussion and see what they think. We could even do some type of public meeting on this as well. But so I think turning it over to a committee to look at instead of immediately considering a policy, I thought was,
Very
you
wise.
guys are okay with that?
Yep.
Great.
Okay.
If you're headed that direction, I'll start with the point as a project that we could potentially.
There you go. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We
So,
don't have, it's a.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. We're at half an hour. You want to just call
I
it?
need, yeah, the meeting too.
okay, so we're just past a half hour, and so I'm gonna go back to the public hearing. And any further questions at all? There being none, I am gonna officially close the public hearing and turn this over to the Glens Falls IDA for consideration. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Travel safe.
Just close it? Okay, very good.
Good.
Okay. He has to complain or something, I don't,
Yeah, so.
He has a life.
besides us. All right. Okay, so I don't think I need to call a vote for that, but Mary, you and we can talk about it later and with Steph, and we'll come up with a strategy to pull that committee together. Okay, thank you. All right. That is the end of my chair report. I'll turn it over to Jeff. Anything you want to report?
I have no CEO report.
Nothing more? Okay. Well, you have a project.
I do.
report. We'll move that down the list. So for our minutes that we have before us, we have several. We have our committee meetings that were held on March 27th. We have the annual meeting that was held on March 27th. We have the regular board meeting also held on March 27th. And we had a special board meeting held on April 24th. All of those minutes are before you. Are there any questions or comments? Any requests for change? There being none, is there a motion to accept all of those committee meeting, annual meeting, and regular board meeting minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays, any abstentions? There being none, motion is passed and the minutes are all accepted, and we'll get those reported and up online. We have two financial reports. One is for ending March 31, 2025, and for ending April 30, 2025. And
So Mark's notes on that, the only IDA changes to March and April financials were a Fitzgerald bill for $256 and Mark's payroll for 40% of the February hours. He doesn't have the number here as to how much that is, but it's gonna be
The usual.
somewhere around 300, based on what the LDC number is. So, and those are the only two changes to the financials.
okay. Any questions about those? Everyone's got copies of those financial reports. If there are no questions, is there a motion to approve the March and April financial reports? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? There being none, the financial reports are approved and we'll get those posted as well. Our Schedule A is attached and you'll see there are two bills for payment from Mark Toomey, two for Fitzgerald Morris Baker. We have the audit report for $5,000 from Lutz, Zelig, and Zaranda for the 2024 audit. And then our CEO wage, Jeff Flagg, for the quarter. Total is $7,947. Any questions on that? There being none, is there a motion to approve the payment of bills as reported?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? There being none, motion is approved and we will get those bills signed. Any other administrative reports, Jeff? I have none. The project reports, let's go to 4556 South Street first, the Patent Property Management LLC, which we've been talking about for some time now here today. We've had no comments from the public. Kara, I thought someone from the school board was gonna come, but they did not come.
We notified the school. I didn't hear anything.
We did, oh, you didn't, okay.
No, I did.
I had a conversation, it's sort of somewhat unrelated, but it was tangentially related, from the new, superintendent, vice president,
Financial director?
financial director, thank you, Anthony Camarata. And he was just talking about pilots in general and what we have in our pipeline and wants to sort of understand the process better. Was actually supportive of this project we're talking about, but it'd be worth filling in a little bit more at a later date on how the process works, because he's also impacted by Warren Washington projects where the school district is.
So, yeah, so we did notify the Glens Falls School District, including the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, the president of the school board, and obviously notified the mayor and the Warren County Board of Supervisors. So we have not had any questions or comments. We've had none from the public here today, and we all had our questions answered. If there are no other questions or comments, I will ask for approval of the resolution authoring the pilot agreement for this project, as well as the sales tax exemption and the mortgage tax exemptions.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? There being none, the motion is passed, and we will get those documents all done and get everybody notified that it's been approved, as well as the public, and get a closing on that. Okay, very good. Do an update on South Street projects, Jeff?
Yeah, I'll try and make this somewhat brief. As you know, I'm not going to talk anymore about Chris Patton and his projects. We've done that. I did want to let you know that, of course, you have in front of you the ribbon cutting ceremony. I don't know if the mayor wants to talk about that in just a minute, but that's going to be Friday from 3 to 5, and then music at a block party from 5 to 8. In the meantime, we're moving at pace. The city council approved the selection of a designer for 36 Inc. That's sort of an LDC thing as much as anything, but I wanted to make mention of that. That was at the Tuesday council meeting. So AJA, we got quotes from AJA and Envision, who's designed the Market Center, and SWBR, who'd been Bonaccio's designer, to get prices, and AJA's came in the lowest by a decent chunk. So we're going to be moving forward with them almost immediately to try and get the design of the interior space of the 36 Inc. building. Bonaccio is tentatively looking, and I think they're slightly closer than tentative now to the closing date. Now they've solved all their issues with HCR, are waiting for a closing date. They're looking at hopefully beginning construction, breaking ground by about the beginning of July, 1st of July. So I couldn't get them to swear to that. But pretty comfortable with the date around that.
That's a 18-month to 24-month construction period. That's a 70-unit apartment and multiple.
Will we be closing the street for that as well?
Well, there won't be anything additional that we're aware of. The question is really going to be how long will Elm Street have to be closed, and that's something we'll have to negotiate. I think we can at least get part of it open at the very least. The problem you're going to have is the north side, I guess, of Elm Street there, where they're going to be building along the Elm Street corridor there. So hopefully we can get the street open, and it's on the south side.
I would think it would be in their interest to not have it fully closed, given what
Sure.
they've got on the south side of the project. And I would think that they want to get their.
Yeah, they're going to want their tenants to be able to get into their building.
So, yeah.
Yeah. One last thing is that, we had a recent conversation. I had a recent conversation with Ryan Connor, you might remember, he had come in and talked to us some time ago about his project. He'd purchased Union Square. And, you know, we're discussing whether or not he needs any help and how he's going to move forward with that project. So we have one for you.
Okay, great. Quick coffee. They asked for an extension?
Yeah, Karen might have more on that than I do, but I know they run into some financing delays. I won't call them problems, but I don't want to put you on the spot, Karen, but
Yeah, no, that's fine. So the, we, if you remember, we offered them their sales tax exemption. They made a partial payment to the IDA for that sales tax exemption because they were gonna start buying like the building pieces and things of that nature. So we did that. Their original application includes a completion date of May 31st. Obviously, we haven't closed yet, so they're not going to meet that time frame. So we reached back out to them and asked, I assume they need an extension, and they do. So they're requesting an extension of that completion date to the end of November, so till November 30th. As part of that, we also asked them if any of the costs have increased since the time of the original application. And so we originally approved an exemption of $35,700 for exemptions, which is $510,000 in purchases. And so they are increasing, they're requesting an increase of purchases of $681,430 and $47,700 in exemptions, because the overall project cost has gone up about $330,000. So that was an adjustment
That's
directly
a
related to construction. So that was a change order in their construction contract with our contractor. So that is the request that they're making, to increase the overall sales tax exemption to 47.7 from 35.7. And then extend the date. No. I don't know if they've gotten the sign up yet. So their attorney was hoping that they might be able to close by the end of this month, but I'm not sure if they're gonna have the holiday. Just unclear right now. But hopefully, as soon as.
The craziness of construction right now in the industry. Can I just suggest that they've asked me to run, can I just suggest that we add another 2 months to get I don't think it's a difference to us. And I would rather not have to then deal with this again.
I agree with that, because I overly optimistic about the conclusion date and timing, and it's just, in some ways, they really want it to be that, and hoping that that will, it's happening, not this year, it's happening a little, it's just an increase, and it's not that they're not doing the project, it's just that there's some things that, you know, with the SBA, so that's.
So you had another. So March 1st, let's go with March 1st, 2026. Okay. Because it is. So, you know, probably depends. Business is supposed to actually do given this, like, quite honestly, I don't see like because although I think this project needs to that's the well, right. Including that it isn't going to be it isn't going to be practical. They were looking to fix it. So we were looking at it cost $3 million, and they say no people.
Resolution.
So we have a resolution. So I propose a resolution. Extending the project timeline from
And you're accepting, we're accepting out of it for 2 40 all in favor? Any names and abstentions? We will not vote this passed. Sorry, no, it's too far. North side.
Very briefly, I was going to list of the assets to, about list of the assets with, she's been in contact with. And Judd, city attorney, for those who are in the process. So then we can see. So, we should have no, for us, we're not even being fair in that sense. We're,
There is no, there's no need for an executive session. I'll make a motion to adjourn the board meeting today. House for Thursday, 12. Friday, to a motion to adjourn. So, is there a second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's open up the Greater Glens Falls Local Development Corporation facility for Steve. We'll call the meeting to order. On the member absent is Tim Larson. And we have from our advisors, Mark Twomey is still with us today. Let's see, administrative reports. We have minutes from the committee meeting held on March 27th. The annual meeting held on March 27th, and the regular meeting held on March 27th. Any corrections or changes to the minute? Not hearing any, we have a motion to approve the minutes. With a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. You have 2 sets of financial reports. The financial report of 3 months ending March 31st and 4 months ending April 30th, 2025. So Mark says all for the LDC changes for March 21st were 2 seasonal invoices for 2020, 2 insurance payments for 330. And that's any questions about the financial report? Not hearing any, we have a motion to approve the 2 financial reports. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. The bills, payment bills, see schedule A. So we have 1 insurance payment, 2 payments to the Mark for its work for March and April, 2 still March April payments. Payments for the 2024 audit. First quarter CDL wages. Payment to finance for assistance in those project. Things like taxes for the technical spot. The insurance payment. So the total checks that we're reporting. Any questions about the bills? Good motion to approve. So, good second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much. Motion carries. The ratification of the payment to Gal Insurance, $10,914 for insurance for motor treatment. On April 28th. The board for permission to write a check and have it signed to Gallagher in order to ensure that he's not been, that it wasn't missed the deadline. And the board members, they agree and just want to make sure that you have a formal vote here to decision. So we need a vote to ratify the payment of $10,914.93 for insurance renewal.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Other reports? I don't have any other reports. You've been invited to the groundbreakings. Please come. We'd love to see you there. And we're hoping that this does two things. One is we have officials from the governor's office and from Empire State Development is putting this on with us, and Adirondack Regional Chamber. This ribbon cutting will be dedicating the building to Ed Bartholomew with a plaque, and his family will be there as well. The name of this building, so forever now, it's been called the Market Center, and it will now be the Event Downtown Center, the Event Downtown Center. And so we will have a plaque there recognizing Ed for his role in this project and in Glens Falls in general. And so I'd love to have you all there. You know, the LDC, the IDA, these organizations, all this began 8 years ago and is breaking ground. We're so very excited. The state's excited too. That's why they wanted to take part in this and be here. To take $10 million and turn it into $49 million. Even this, the state comptroller is impressed. And so I don't know if we can say that often in this world. So please come to that. And then the block party is more of an opportunity for people to show what the event can look like with people in it. In the ribbon cutting, to go back for just a second, we have 24 local restaurants that'll be offering samples of food from their restaurants for free during the ribbon cutting. But then afterwards, the block party, we've got a couple others going to stay. I believe somebody has a permit to sell margaritas. So we'll have margaritas there. We suspended the open container permit for that area so that the restaurants or the bars nearby can also allow folks to come out into the street.
The inside of the building will be open. We'll be able to
Yeah,
go
oh, yeah.
inside.
The inside of the building and around the building, and the band will be right behind the building in the area.
In that area, yeah,
That
nice.
entertainment. I just think it's a great opportunity. We've already had, we've got one, we don't have the contracts yet drafted. We're making them to rent out the building, but the Adirondack Theater, the Wood Theater, that's who are looking to hold their gala there in the fall. And we've got other entertainers looking to hold events in this building.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the manager, if you will, of the building?
The city of Glens Falls right now
So is someone at City Hall going to be designated in charge?
yes, of the leasing of it, yes. At some point, it'll be either the mayor's assistant or the tourism director who will help sign those contracts. We have a staff member that has already been, the position was there, but it's a facilities maintenance person that'll come and be there for anybody leasing it out and make sure it's available and be there at all the events and whoever's.
I was gonna say, we're gonna have somebody on site.
We're managing it that
Nice.
way.
Okay.
The long-term goal is, and certainly the LDC will be part of this as 36 Inc. opens up and we get that management agreement with Taste of New York, and as we look to hire somebody to do to take that over in the long-term goal, I think this building, the management of that building should be managed by the same thing. Now, it's just I don't want to say that that's a done deal. You guys will decide that as we have a subcommittee meeting and talking about this and help us figure out how to move it forward. Okay? They're linked. They should be linked.
I just want to add, Mayor, to what you were talking about with the New York State Controller, Tom DiNapoli, and the mayor had me attend that meeting because I've known him for, I don't know, maybe 30 years, but I went to that and he wanted to see everything that was going on downtown. So it ended up not just being a meeting, but this walking tour. And we took him through everything, we took him down one street, he was on a part of Ridge, and then all the way over to South Street, and stayed down there for quite a while, and I think he really truly was very impressed. He now has a full list of all our restaurants, which I gave him, and because he does love to eat, but anyways, it was.
Yes,
Yeah.
like, not just time. Everybody loves to eat.
Was very impressed with everything that we have going on, including how many restaurants we have, but with everything related to the DRI. So it was a great meeting. I'm glad that we had him here, Aaron. I think it went very, very well.
Right, and as part of that, right, the discussion that the mayor and Judy had with the controller was to point out, right, you all know the DRI did a lot of work with a lot of small businesses and a lot of medium-sized businesses in the city. The mayor pointed out those places as he was walking down Glen Street, as he turned the corner onto South, to be able to point out to the controller sort of where the money went. I mean, but at least to say that it went to support, this business and that business. And you said there were
16 in the block from Crew Coffee to the market center. 16 businesses that we were going by that we could say, and the Wood Theater got this for their heating and cooling. And so it was, it impressed me as we were doing
Yeah.
it, because if you forget that all of this is all intertwined. And I know I've yet to find a way to talk about it all at the same time. You lose people.
Sure.
And you do. And so I think I know for me moving forward, I'm trying to find opportune ways for us to explain this
So you know what would be awesome,
what would
and you don't have time, but Ed's original watercolor cover of the DRI app,
sure.
and then little arrows with text saying it went here, it went here, and showing the entire
great idea.
spread
Good idea.
of the money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From his concept to our reality.
Thank you for
Yeah,
the great
good
idea.
And Tom also met with the officials from the library, and they talked about how we provided them with bond financing for that building. And he also met with officials from Aero Bank, and they talked about how the building on South Street got built, and they had purchased that. It had been a building that was in really bad shape and got torn down where they, so we talked about how South Street really started to change, going back to that, probably with influence from, which was then Glens National Bank.
When you're talking about the guy, whose job basically is to scrutinize municipal finances,
Right,
He's
exactly.
giving you the seal of approval, and where else do you go?
Right.
It sort of reminds me of the old Mark Twain saying, endeavor to live your life so that when you come to die, even the undertaker will be sorry.
Right, right.
So all I wanted to say was that I wanted you all to be proud of the fact that all of those things you had a hand in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you'll see a lot of it. Thank you all. Jeff, did you have anything else about?
Well, just the one, along those lines, I'm glad you sort of mentioned that. There's one project that we've been working on for a little while, and it didn't get on the agenda, but it's something I'd like to cover. Morgan and Company had solicited us maybe a couple months ago about trying to get a little bit of help from the SBS. You might remember way back when they had come to us looking to do some kitchen renovations. What Rebecca ended up doing or wants to do is to expand her walk-in cooler and to get a what do you want to call it, a prep table, two pieces of equipment that we could cover through the SBS.
We cover half.
Correct.
Yes.
We could cover half of that through the SBS. She's looking to get this as soon as possible. Her walk-in cooler was about 30 years old when they put it in 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And so her big problem is that it expanded, right? The cooler's not big enough and it's overworked. And so she's really got to change this. She's repaired it several times, but she'd like some help with that. So I know
She can do that without renovating the building?
looks like it. Yeah. That's what she's looking for.
Okay. All right.
So we did get some prices. This was really the holdup. We had to get some quotes from them. The total is about $10,000 for the walk-in cooler, and about another $22,000 or so from the
I was gonna say, the
2,200,
table
sorry.
should not be
Yes,
more
yes.
expensive than the clothing.
So the total project cost is around 11,400, which we would provide half of about 5,700. I do have a resolution here, which I'd love to get passed if we could, just to give her some.
I think that's a good consideration for, use for our fund.
One more, one more business you could
We've done it before.
down the street.
That's right. That'd be great. We're gonna go.
You want to read that to the,
Yeah, it's a long resolution. I guess this is just,
That's what you get for.
yeah, that's right. The board, the GGF-LDC Board of Directors approves the small and small business support applicant to move forward with an eligible project. Rebecca Newell Butters, owner of Morgan and Company, to purchase restaurant equipment, including a new condenser, evaporator coil, and related items for a walk-in cooler and new refrigerated sandwich pizza prep table. And to work with the Community and Economic Development Directors to submit appropriate payment documentation for completed project work and to seek reimbursement of SBS grant funds after project completion, subject to any other applicable third-party approvals.
And what's the total amount? Put that in there.
An amount, project budget maximum amount of $11,400, which implies an SBS reward or award of approximately $5,700.
So moved.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Very good.
I do not believe we have anything else on our agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we stand adjourned. Thank you all very much.